Good evening, everyone. It is now 6:30, and I'd like to call to order the Board of Library Trustees, our regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, and it is 6:30. Secretary DiLorenzo, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Trustee Cox, not present. Trustee DiLorenzo, present. Trustee Nealon?
Present.
Trustee O'Keefe?
Here.
Trustee Senate is not present. Trustee Summer?
Yes, here.
And Trustee Fishman?
Here. Here. Thank you. Great. We'll now move on to the review of draft minutes from March 18th, our last month's meeting, 2025. And any corrections, comments, changes? No?
No corrections, no comments.
Okay. Thank you. Seeing none, we'll move on. May we have a approval, please? May we have a motion?
I move approval of the March 18th, 2025 regular board meeting minutes as presented.
Thank you. And is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. We have now a motion on the floor for approval of the March 18th, 2025 regular board meeting minutes. It was motioned by Trustee O'Keefe and seconded by Trustee Summer. Trustee DiLorenzo, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Trustee Cox is not present. Trustee DiLorenzo is present. Trustee Nealon?
Yes.
Trustee O'Keefe?
Yes?
Trustee Senate is not present. Trustee Summer?
Yes.
Trustee Fishman?
Yes. Thank you. Motion carried. We'll now move on to our public comment and meeting attendees who have signed the visitor public comment registration form and who wish to address our board. But the Board of Trustees may do so here. Are there any public comments?
Good evening. I'm Bob Lepkowski. I'm a resident of Wilmette for 29 years. I was here last month to tell you that I supported all of your decisions on what collection should be here in the library. I'm here again to say, to redouble that effort. We're always here for you. Thanks very much. Hope you have spring fever if spring ever shows up. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your support and your comment. Anyone else? All right, thank you. We do not have any presentations, so we'll move on to our treasurer's report. Treasurer Summer, please.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I just have a few things. As expected, the library received a large disbursement of its property taxes totaling $1,990,145. Of this, $1,796,894 represents general fund property tax revenue, and this line item is at about 98% of the budget. In the packet, there was a check to ComputerView in the amount of $21,615, which is a regular quarterly payment to them. There were no special reserve fund expenses in the month. In total, you'll notice that general fund income is at 99.2% of the budget, while only being at 3/4 of the way through the year. Therefore, it's likely that general fund income will be higher than its budgeted numbers. This isn't surprising, as there are several line items in the income section which are already over 100% of budget. Also noted in the financial report are that general expenses are at 70% of budget, even though we are through 75% of the year. As we are nearing the end of my time as a trustee and treasurer, I want to give you some additional thoughts about the current and future financial position of the library. First, looking ahead towards the end of the fiscal year, I did some analysis and averaged monthly general fund expenses for the last 9 months, and estimated that the library spends about $525,000 a month, roughly. Therefore, it has roughly about $1,575,000 left in general fund expenses, approximately. As of the end of March, the general fund had a year-to-date income of $1,565,755. So using these assumptions, I estimate the library should be at least at a break-even point at the end of the year and may possibly be in a positive position in the general fund. This is excellent news, as we budgeted a $355,000 deficit spending for the year. In reviewing the general fund income statement, this is due to two things. The fact that investment income is almost double what it was budgeted, as well as I previously mentioned, general fund expenses in total are at 70%, while we are through 75% of the year. I strongly encourage the library to hold on to these savings. This potential income could be used as a cushion for future years, as this year is likely to be an anomaly due to the current year's investment income. The budgeting for next year and future years will be difficult. Under the current political climate, there may be many unknowns, such as the effects of inflation, tariffs, federal cutbacks, and the elimination of certain federal agencies. Anything the library can do now to protect its financial future should be done. I urge the board to aim toward a balanced budget either this year or in the near future. And lastly, this will be my last regular meeting for the full Board of Trustees. I'm unable to attend the regular meeting in May when we swear in the new trustees. It has been an honor to serve our community and support the exceptional library staff. I want to thank the other trustees for volunteering their time and dedication to our library. This is a group of very smart, dedicated individuals, most of whom I did not know before serving on this board, and now consider friends. That is my report. Any questions?
I have a comment.
Yes.
I totally agree with you, Tracy, and it's so wise what you're saying, especially in the climate of uncertainty, which is making us all
Yes.
in many ways.
Mhm.
So this is a very valuable institution, and we want to see it preserved. So thank you so much.
All right.
And thank you for everything you've done the last 4 years. You have been really just such a wonderful addition as a trustee and as a friend. So thank you for all of your efforts and all of your hard work.
Welcome. I still have the finance meeting to go, so I'm not quite done.
And I'll just echo that we have really learned so much from you, and we appreciate your fine-tooth comb and perseverance, and it's been great to have you on the board. Thank you.
Tracy, I would like to just personally thank you because as far as onboarding, you were really invaluable to me as an incoming trustee, and all of your expertise and advice was much appreciated, and all of your work with the finances is absolutely appreciated, and you've put us on really good footing, so thank you.
With the help of the staff, too. All right.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Trustee Summer about our financial report or the bills and salaries check detail? All right, seeing none, may we have a motion to approve the bills and salaries check detail for March 2025 as presented?
I move approval of the bills and salaries check detail for March 2025 as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. We have the motion has been made by Trustee DiLorenzo and seconded by Trustee Nealon. Thank you. Secretary DiLorenzo, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Trustee Cox is not present. Trustee DiLorenzo, present. Trustee Nealon.
Yes.
Trustee O'Keefe.
Yes?
Trustee Senate is not present. Trustee Summer
Yes.
and Trustee Fishman.
Yes, thank you. Motion passed. All right, moving on, then we have our action item. And this is, since we have a number of trustees rolling off the board and new trustees coming on with our May meeting, that we will now establish a nominating committee to determine the slate of the Board of Trustees officers to serve through spring of 2027. So it sounds like a setup, but Trustee Senate and Trustee Cox, who are not present tonight, but who have agreed to serve on the nominating committee. So it's not like we gave them a task and they are not here to say otherwise.
Thank you
But,
for acknowledging the setup.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't just, well,
There you go. Well, they said yes. I spoke with them prior to the meeting. So it is an action item, so we will have we need a motion that we will have.
You can just establish this.
Oh, can I?
It doesn't
okay.
need to be a
Thank
vote.
you. Doesn't,
Yes.
okay. Trustee sits as we're done with that. Alrighty. Very good. Moving along then, thank you, is your director's report, Trustee.
Okay.
Excuse me. Director Austin.
Thank you. Okay, a few things I want to share with you this evening. So I'll start with some statistics from the past month. The library saw nearly 22,000 visitors in March, averaging over 710 users visiting us each day. We welcomed 207 new patrons to the library in March. Our registered users total received a nice bump thanks to our partnership with District 39. The school district provided us with 110 student names who did not already have a library card in our system, and we were happy to welcome them to the library. With over 17,000 registered cardholders in Wilmette, over 85% of households in our community have at least one library card, and over 2/3 of those library cards have been used actively for physical circulation or a physical item within the last 6 months. For those of you who may not be aware, that is an unprecedented statistic and is not common in communities around the country. So we're grateful for the support and the use that our community enjoys with this library. Our physical circulation for March continues to average over 1,800 items checked out each day, with nearly 55,000 items checked out in March. Our digital circulation continues to boom and accounts for over 30% of our total circulation. Our March 2025 overdrive statistics totaled over 21,000 checkouts. That is also a rather unprecedented figure. Speaking of digital resources, we made an enhancement. We had a planned upgrade to the New York Times online access. We have maxed out our availability to New York Times Online All Access, which includes now The Athletic, Wirecutter, Games, and a whole lot more. I encourage you to log on and check out this, one of our most popular digital resources. An update on some strategic goals now. We deepened and strengthened some of our strategic partnerships in the community, including welcoming a new local business. Our Adult Services Assistant Manager, Rachel Garcia, established an initial connection with Lorenza Amiga, the owner of Pink Couch Books, which is a new romance bookstore that's opening in this spring in downtown Wilmette. You may have seen an article about her in the Record North Shore. They discussed a potential partnered programming and other collaborations of mutual benefit, and enthusiasm is high between the library and the bookstore. Our partnership with the Wilmette Kenilworth Chamber of Commerce continues. Our Coffee and Business Connections recorded its highest attended networking and learning event since its launch in 2024. In addition to the connections made among participants, business librarian John Amundsen offered instruction outlining best practices for prospective library presenters. Our partnership with New Trier High School has grown. Teen Services librarian Krista Hutley has deepened her connections with both New Trier High School book clubs, including an early morning 7:15 breakfast and books and an afternoon bookworks meeting. In addition to investing in developing relationships, Krista has promoted our summer reading program as well as our teen volunteer programming opportunity. And I will just interrupt that for a moment and say that we are actively recruiting right now through today volunteers, specifically for teens, to participate in our summer reading club booth, which is staffed by high school students in grades 9 through 12. We have a library blog that posted this last month that shared 5 reasons why teens should volunteer at the library this summer, taken directly from the source, teens who have volunteered with us in the past. And you can learn more about this on our website by going to wilmettelibrary.info/services/teens. A little bit more from Youth Services. On Wednesday, March 12th, Youth Services hosted another teacher meeting here in the auditorium for District 39 classroom teachers. We had 70 kindergarten, first and second grade teachers meet here and collaborate and hear a presentation from Youth Services staff and learn more about library services that support the work and their students. We received an incredibly charming set of thank you letters from Harper kindergartners and Central School second graders following their recent visits to the library as well, and I'm circulating those packets around the table here. Charming is an understatement. They're really adorable. We also launched our latest newsletter for April and May. There's a copy of that that's in the book that's going around as well. That lists all the programs that are available at the library this month and May, as well as launching our new Let's Learn Together initiative for 2025, which is focusing on neurodiversity. We have a program that's coming up on April 25th. All Brains Are Beautiful. It's one of our Between the Lines presentations. This is a promotion for it. I grabbed it out of the elevator and I will put it back there here in a moment. This program is presented by speech and language pathologist Stephanie Boron and explores neurodiversity, the natural variation of how human brains are wired. And we offer childcare for kids ages 4 and older so that adults can participate in this program here in the auditorium on Friday afternoon, April 25th from 4:30 to 5:30. All right, let's see, a couple more things I wanted to share with you all. A couple additions to our team. We recently hired Lydia Hanchett as our new Digital and Maker Services Assistant Manager. Lydia comes to us from Chicago Public Library's Harold Washington branch, where she worked as a librarian in their Business, Science and Technology and Government Documents Department. Previously, she was a Reader's Advisory Assistant at Des Plaines Public Library, where she served on the committee to launch their upcoming makerspace, the Canvas. Lydia has also honed her maker tools and technology skills as a costumer, props person, and milliner and designer for several Chicago theaters. She's transferred those skills into hands-on sewing classes and drop-in maker sessions for the library. Her first day will be on April 21st, and we like to think of the library as putting on a play every day that we're here, so we think she's going to be a great fit for us. We also recently hired Allison Blates as our new Youth Services Associate. With over 10 years of public library experience, Allison has worked at the Batavia, Highland Park, and Highland Park Public Libraries. In her most recent position as Youth and Teen Services Librarian at Niles Main District Library, Allison developed a collection of circulating STEM kits called Wonder Boxes, which we have here, and created video content for their library blog and MakerFest event. Allison joined us back on March 4th. I will say that I'll close my report now by saying that on April 4th, we hosted our Staff Development Day, and I'll tell you a little bit about what we did on Staff Development Day. So each spring, the library closes for one day to focus on staff development, and it's a day to bring the entire staff together to celebrate our team, our accomplishments over the past year, to review statistics and trends, to reflect on our progress on goals, to establish new priorities for the year ahead, and to learn about industry trends. In addition to this keynote presentation by the director, staff from across the library plan breakout sessions for the day to help staff better understand their roles in the context of the broader work of the organization. These sessions range from informational overviews of departments and functions like interlibrary loan, as well as opportunities to learn about trending topics like artificial intelligence and even self-care activities like art therapy and chair yoga. This year, our theme for the day was Serving with Heart, and we were thrilled to host our keynote speaker, Dr. Michael Stevens, professor of the School of Information at San Jose State University. Dr. Stevens speaks throughout the United States and internationally on topics related to creative and open uses of technology to support and drive library services and learning. He's inspired by libraries and library workers that support user curiosity, nurture the creation of new knowledge, and encourage the heart. American Library Association Editions has published 2 collections of his writings, The Heart of Librarianship in 2016 and Wholehearted Librarianship in 2019. As I said, our staff day theme, Serving with Heart, is inspired by Dr. Stevens' work. He shared with us how we can cultivate the practice of wholehearted service and create an atmosphere in which others feel welcome, empowered, and supported. You can learn more about Dr. Stevens on his website, Tame the Web. And I want to thank our 2025 Staff Day Planning Committee for putting together such a successful event for us. And those staff include June Bowe from Circulation, Ethan Herdrick from Digital and Maker Services, Krista Hutley from Adult Services, Emma Standard from Technical Services, Andrea Vaughn Johnson from Youth Services, and Rebecca Vrananakwan from Circulation. We had a really wonderful day. That concludes the director's report. Do you have any questions from my report?
I have 2 comments. I'm not going to leave here without making my 2 cents worth. I really appreciate these last 2 pages of the director's report. There's these statistics on it. I think they're really helpful getting an overview of some of the things that the library offers, the services, the online things, and I hope that the staff finds them helpful too. I think it's a really good, it's a great addition that they've added in the last period of time. The other thing, as I was reading it, I felt like you indicated that some of the visitors felt overwhelmed and struggling with current events. I think the idea of putting out DVDs, uplifting movies for trying times was an excellent idea. I think it was a great idea of the staff, so thank you for that.
I just have one comment. Maybe our visitors would like to see the very charming booklets from Harbor School. They're just really.
Yeah, the thank yous from the two schools.
We'll send them over there.
Yeah. That is all.
Okay. I will add a couple other small points that are coming up here very shortly. This weekend on Saturday in the auditorium here, the Friends of Wilmette Public Library will be hosting a pop-up shop. They have a very special book sale that they're setting up specifically to highlight all of their children's resources. So if you're in the market for some children's resources, or if you know of a family that would like to browse these materials, the Friends have collected them and have set them aside specifically for this event here, beginning at 9:30 on Saturday, April 19th. And just a reminder that Sunday is Easter, and Wilmette Public Library, like many of our peer libraries, will be closed for the day. And then the last point I will share with you is as we are looking forward to welcoming our new trustees and onboarding them here at our next meeting on May 20th, right here in this auditorium, a very busy space, on April 22nd, a Tuesday, we're going to be providing an orientation for all elected officials who have recently joined the village across all units of government, the Village of Wilmette, School District 37 Avoca, School District 39 Wilmette, the library, the Park District, and New Trier Township. All newly elected officials are going to be oriented with a professional parliamentarian and speaker on boardsmanship. A number of you have been through this program as well. So we're happy to provide that resource to the community and to get our new elected officials off on the right foot. So that's happening here on Tuesday. Okay, that does conclude my remarks.
Wonderful. And thanks, I want to make note, thanks to you, Director Austin, who's spearheading this whole onboarding. And you did that last year, and thank you. It's a lot
Thanks.
of work and coordination, so thanks so much. I was just going to say that digital use, 30% is of our checkouts is.
Can you talk a little louder?
Oh, I'm sorry, sure. 30% of our, am I saying that correctly, of our checkouts are ebooks, Libby, on and on. So it's convenient, easy. I guess, I use it all the time. I think that it's just, and our community sees the value of this too. So I always say to people, if you see that there's a popular book and you think that your ebook is going to take a while, it moves very quickly. So we do our best with staff, I know, that follow what are the most popular books. So kudos to staff for all that, keeping our patrons in reading what the venue that they'd like to have it, or the avenue. So, oh, good. Committee reports then, thank you. We'll move on to ILA and Rails. Trustee Senate has joined the Rails board. Since she's not here tonight, I understand she shared with you her report.
Yes, and on behalf of Trustee Senate and on behalf of library advocates everywhere, I have prepared a bit of a statement that I would like to share with you all. Bear with me. I have a few moments of information that I would like to present. On April 11th, 2025, the executive leadership of the Illinois Library Association, the Association of Illinois School Library Educators, the Consortium of Academic and Research Libraries of Illinois, and the Illinois Heartland Library System and our own Reaching Across Illinois Library System published a joint statement on changes at the Institute of Museum and Library Services. As you may know, if you're following the latest developments with the changes affecting the Institute of Museum and Library Services, the IMLS, which is an independent government agency that is the primary source of federal funding for the nation's museums and libraries. For those who are uncertain about what is happening, I'd like to take this opportunity to share their perspective that was shared by this executive leadership as well as my own in an effort to help you to understand and make sense of these changes and clarify the impacts here in Illinois with our library community, as well as what my perspective on those local impacts are going to be here in Wilmette, and share ways that library supporters can help to advocate. So for a little bit of background, the IMLS was established by the Museum and Library Services Act, the MLSA, in 1996 to advance, support, and empower America's museums, libraries, and related organizations through grant-making, research, and policy development. The IMLS promotes improvements in library services, facilitates access to resources in libraries, encourages and supports resource sharing among libraries, supports museums in fulfilling their public service and educational roles, encourages leadership and innovation to enhance museum services, assists museums in the conservation of America's heritage, supports museums in achieving the highest standards of management and service to the public, and supports resource sharing among museums, libraries, and other organizations. IMLS also publishes analyses of the impact of museums and library services. The most recent annual budget for IMLS was $313 million out of the total $6.75 trillion federal budget, or 0.003% of the total federal budget. On March 14th, the Trump administration issued an executive order to dismantle the Institute of Museum and Library Services and similar entities to the fullest extent allowed by law. On the same day, the Senate passed and the President signed a continuing resolution for fiscal year 2025 securing IMLS funding through September 2025. Following the executive order, Keith Sonderling was appointed as the acting director of IMLS with no background, I just editorialized that, in libraries and museums, and the entire IMLS staff of only 70, Wilmette Library has over 80 employees, were placed on administrative leave, and all grants and contracts were suspended. Responses have been swift with the American Library Association, the National Museum Library Services Board, and members of Congress urging the continuation of the IMLS funding and the reinstatement of staff. Despite the certainty that funding was guaranteed through fiscal year 2025 through that continuing resolution, Acting Director Sondling notified several states, including California, Connecticut, Washington, and recently Illinois, that their grants have been canceled on April 3rd. So how does this all affect Illinois? In Illinois, federal funding to libraries is distributed by the Illinois State Library through the IMLS Grants to States program, with funding totaling $5.7 million in fiscal year 2027. Just for context, that's about what the budget of Wilmette Public Library is. That is the sixth highest amount that IMLS grants to a state in the country. This funding supports resources, grants, public library programming, professional development, and operations for various types of libraries with a focus on underserved areas. The $5.7 million Illinois received this year all goes to Illinois public school, academic, and special libraries and includes providing computer access to kids in high-risk communities, books to people in prison, and the cost of online library catalog system and online programs. Monies are also allocated to the Illinois Heartland Library System and the Reaching Across Illinois Library System under the System Area and Per Capita Grant Program. Wilmette Public Library receives approximately $40,000 in per capita grant funding, and Kenilworth, our partner public library district, receives approximately $4,000 in per capita grant funding. This statewide funding also facilitates the delivery of books and library materials across Illinois through interlibrary loan services. Illinois spends about $2.5 million of its funding on one of the country's largest intralibrary loan systems, which allows libraries to keep their collections small and borrow from one another. An act of efficiency. Ooh, I'm editorializing things. Last fiscal year, 11 million items were transferred among the 1,700 public school, academic, and special libraries in Illinois. It's a lot of materials. Losing IMLS funding will significantly impact Illinois libraries, having serious consequences for the communities and the people who rely on them, particularly those in rural and underserved areas. It will also hinder the programming, resources, and professional development of the organizations that our organizations offer, free of charge in most cases, to all libraries, members, and non-members. So in terms of advocacy, In response to this, recent actions, such as lawsuits filed by a coalition of 21 attorney generals across the country, including Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul and the American Library Association, offer some hope and shine some spotlight on this critical issue. Raoul said, "The Institute of Museum and Library Services helps to ensure that art, culture, and history and literacy are accessible for all. Attempting to dismantle agencies created by Congress is a continuation of this administration's unconstitutional and unlawful overreach." Illinois Secretary of State and State Librarian Alexi Giannoulis said the dismantling of the Institute would be, quote, "devastating." "This is not just dismantling of an agency," he said. "It's a downright assault on our core values as a democracy and is going to have long-lasting consequences for every community in America. Eliminating the IMLS is going to negatively impact literacy, education, and equal access to knowledge." The American Library Association, which is based in Chicago, disputes Trump's categorization of the federal agency as, quote, "wasteful." "Libraries are strong, trusted institutions, and it's really unfortunate to hear that the federal government would think otherwise," said Cindy Hull, the American Library Association's president. "We have 125,000 libraries in this country, and that's more libraries than McDonald's restaurants. That's how prevalent and important they are. And so we see that the attacks on libraries are happening, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. Americans love their libraries." Illinois organizations, including the Illinois Library Association, Illinois Association of Museums, and Museums in the Park, also support the preservation of the Institute. They say its elimination threatens valuable cultural and educational programming and also access to books and the internet. They say they are especially concerned about smaller museums and libraries, including those in rural and underserved areas, saying that those would suffer the most from these cuts. As library advocates, we applaud Attorney General Raoul, Secretary of State Giannoulis, the Coalition, and the American Library Association for their commitment to defending the IMLS and their efforts to preserve library funding. We need you and those you know, including friends, family members, and all library supporters, to call their members of Congress and urge them to protect federal funding of libraries. Phone calls can only take a couple of minutes and send a strong message to elected officials that their constituents care enough to take the time out of their day to make their voices heard. ALA has a program, Show Up for Libraries, an initiative to help you reach out and contact your members of Congress. I encourage you to simply search the phrase "Show Up for Libraries" to find ALA's advocacy page and to make your voice known. Please consider contacting your congressional representation and ask them to protect and fully fund the IMLS at levels that protect both discretionary and statutory programs. As we face these changing times, we must stand together to support Illinois libraries. I will further add that Wilmette Public Library, through Rails, partners with a number of museums and other institutions throughout the state. We offer two programs. The Explore More Illinois program invites you to experience museums throughout Illinois as well as nearby Kenosha, Wisconsin. And attractions there include the Chicago Children's Museum, the Illinois Holocaust Museum, the Block Museum of Art, and many more cultural institutions. You can reserve, there are discounts and reserve passes that are available through the Explore More Illinois reservation website, and you can access this on the Wilmette Public Library website and just simply enter your library card to gain access to a wealth of experiences through museums. We also have, through Rails, access to the Museum Adventure Pass, where you can receive discounts at the Chicago Botanic Garden, the Indigenous Nations Museum, the Brookfield Zoo, and many other Chicagoland attractions. We offer a limited number of passes on a first-come, first-served basis, and borrowing is limited to one pass per family per week. But this is also available on our website. You can learn more and contact Youth Services for more information about this. These programs and the services that are promoted through these programs are also squarely in the crosshairs of the impacts of this diminished funding to the IMLS. As I said, in Wilmette Library, the impacts for us are primarily substantially going to affect interlibrary loan. We have extended our collections through a program called Find More Illinois. It's just there's Explore More and there's Find More and there's all these things. We have recently opened up our catalog to libraries across the state even further to facilitate interlibrary resource sharing. We imagine that those services are going to be valued even more by our rural partners in Southern Illinois who are borrowing primarily from us for those services, because they are going to be adversely affected and will need to divert their funding to support their local collections, probably more now due to these funding cuts. These cuts are not just for the areas that I listed. The per capita grant funding is vital to the success of public libraries across our state. $40,000 in a $6 million budget does not sound like a lot, but it's very substantial to us. $4,000 to Kenilworth is very substantial. If these funds were to be eroded, it would be substantially impactful to our library, and we are a well-resourced library. If interlibrary loan were defunded, unfunded, it would radically affect the ability to share free access to information. This is going to be a very disruptive set of changes. The commitment that we see for the governance of these agencies that I mentioned earlier, Rails in particular, they are going to do everything that they can to continue to sustain these services with limited impact to our membership. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a challenge. We don't know what this looks like now, but this is kind of what we're anticipating the challenges are going to be. I did say a lot more here than I would typically want to be saying about this sort of thing, but I feel that this is my place, and I feel that you as constituents and everyone out there watching online should be aware of what these challenges are that are facing libraries, not only here in Illinois, but all around the country. That is my extended report on behalf of our Rails representative, Trustee Senate. Do you have any questions or comments for me about this information?
I have a comment. As you know, maybe you don't, I spend a lot of time in a very remote area of Michigan. My closest library is 45 minutes away. We extensively use their online system, and I know it is supported by the IMLS. Without that service, our community, which is small, would have no online or very limited online access. And it would be devastating. It's a community that is underserved. So I actually call my Michigan congressman several times a week. I urge you to follow his suggestion. You may not see the impact here, you may or may not, but these smaller communities would be definitely impacting them.
Thank you. Sobering.
Okay.
Yeah.
To say the least.
On that happy
But
note.
I think there's been a lot of people, some confusion, but thank you. This was helpful, I think, for all of us, and hopefully for everyone watching who cares.
Yep.
The next committee report is the Intergovernmental Cooperation Committee. We met last month and will not meet again until May, so really nothing to add to that. Our information items.
Sure.
Add to that?
As I mentioned earlier, we are circulating our packet here at the table with comment forms and other communications. And then the other item that is on the agenda that I want to share with you all is to save the date. The Board of Library Trustees Finance Committee will meet on Friday, May 9th, here in the auditorium at 1 p.m. And the purpose of this meeting is to discuss the first draft of the budget for fiscal year 25-26. That is the year that begins on July 1. And our committee members are Trustee Summer, our chair, in her last meeting on the Finance Committee, along with Secretary DiLorenzo, President Fishman, and Trustee O'Keefe. All trustees and trustees-elect are encouraged to attend, and I will be presenting the draft budget at that meeting.
Thank you. May we have a motion now that concludes our agenda to adjourn the meeting?
I move we adjourn the meeting at
7:09.
7:09.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.